Welcome back to the Books Are Us. Today we are running through all my options for my November to be read. Now for some of these books it makes sense that they ended up in the November category, but others aren't necessarily confined to November. So I will divide these books up in rough categories and you can pick or choose whatever speaks to you if you want to read along with me. The first category is short stories, specifically collections of short stories. And I have two books for that. I have The Yellow Wallpaper and Other Writings by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. And this one was recommended by the Booklio. And the other one I have is The Office of Historical Corrections by Daniel Evans. This one was recommended by Lexi Nulinova. And I wanted some short story collections for November because this might be another kind of rough month for me work-wise. I have a lot to do. And if I'm reading a book which I have to pick up and put down again, then it might be easier to read some short stories because I will have the feeling that I can focus on them in one go. The next category are some realistic but sad books. Because November is the month when our world is getting a bit more dark, I seem to end up putting sad stories or sob stories in with November. And the first one is a very popular book. It is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I haven't read anything by Taylor Jenkins Reid and I have heard a lot of good things about this one. Then we have something that would be a reread, which is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I think the last time I read this one was also somewhere at the end of autumn. The next one is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. And this one is a letter of a son to his mother. But I have heard that it is also quite sad. Plus, the cover feels like something that should still be read during autumn. And the last one in this category is Kairos by Jenny Erpenbeck, which is the winner of the International Booker Prize from 2024 this year. And I believe it was about a younger girl who meets a married man on a train and then they sort of start a relationship, but it also ends in sadness. So, can't wait. Now a bit of explanation for my next category. I know that in November a lot of English readers celebrate certain holidays. In the United States, November is the month of Thanksgiving, and in Britain I believe they celebrate Guy Fawkes. But here in Belgium, where I'm from, the thing that November is mostly known for is the 11th of November, which is Armistice Day, which was the end of World War I, the Great War. And I live in Flanders, so we grew up learning the history of that war and learning that it is important to commemorate all the people that were lost during that war. So I don't have a lot of books that are about war, and the books that I do have and that I haven't read yet are mostly situated during World War II, like The Book Thief, for example. But I do have two books that are related to World War I, and the first one is In Memoriam by Alice Wynne, which is about two boys, and I think they are attracted to one another and then they are separated because of the war. One of them has to go and fight, I think, and then they grow apart, maybe. I haven't read too much because I want to discover the story while reading. And then the second book is something different. It is The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden, which I believe is about a woman who is a nurse during World War I, or she goes to help as a nurse. But she is simultaneously trying to find her brother who went to war, I think. But if I remember correctly, this one also has some magic to it or some ghost-like qualities. I don't think it is pure literary fiction. But to make the connection to my next books, I just want to show you the poppy on the cover of this one, because the poppy is representative of World War I, because of the famous poem that starts with in Flanders fields the poppies blow between the headstones row by row. I may be getting that wrong. If I remember, I will put it in the description. But the reason that I'm telling you this is because my mind made this connection that you might have figured out by now to the Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, which I think most of you will know has nothing to do whatever with World War One, but because it said poppy and it said war, that is how it got linked. And that is how this trilogy ended up with November. So we have the Poppy War, we have the Dragon Republic, and then we have the Burning God. And I think this one is more fantasy. I think it is about someone who enters a school, but at the same time a war is going on and then she will have to help or something like that. I'm pretty sure that at one point I knew more about this, but I don't want to look it up again, because if I am going to read it, I want to go in blind. The next up, we have some books that make no sense being here. I think that if I don't read them now, they will end up with October next year. But all of them are thrillers, and because all of them have black spines, I think they ended up with November, because once again, November is when it turns darker. But I'll run through them. We have The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. The only thing I ever read from Karen Slaughter is Pretty Girls, a couple of months ago, which was quite intense. So I definitely want to read something else by Karen Slaughter. I just don't know if this will be the month. The next one is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn, which is about a woman who looks through a window all day and probably will see something that she is not supposed to see. And last we have The Host by Stephanie Meyer. Now, I have not read Twilight. I know in some groups that may be considered a sin or something, but no, I have not read Twilight. I haven't read anything by Stephanie Meyer. But I did hear that this book came highly recommended, so I would prefer to read something like this. And then I could judge if I like her writing style to read anything else by her. And then, as I have said several times by now, November is when things become more dark. And in my mind, the dark gets associated with space, and that is how some science fiction ended up here. So here I have a science fiction category. First off, I have Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. I've been hearing about this one for several years now, but I do not actually read a lot of science fiction, so I'm curious if something like this might hold my attention, because this book actually consists out of 3 novellas, so that might work for me. Next, and these are packed together, we have the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown. Now, this one seems quite daunting to me, because when I ordered these, I wanted to order the trilogy, but I got a better price if I bought these two with it. But because they are packed together, this seems like quite a challenge to read all these 5 books. Because if I start first one, I will feel like I will have to read everything. So I think if this one had come in with just the first 3 books, it would have seemed less daunting to start this. And then we have another sci-fi series, which is the Wool, Shift and Dust series by Hugh Howey. I believe this one is about a post-apocalyptic world where people have to live in a silo underground because the air on Earth is polluted or something like that. It is recommended as being the next Hunger Games, but the same is true for the Red Rising series. Now, just like the rest of the world, I love the Hunger Games. So if you have read both the Red Rising series and the Wool, Shift, Dust series, please let me know which one would be the better fit for a Hunger Games fan. My next category is linked to science fiction, because all of these books have something to do with time. The first one is Momo by Michael Ende. You may know Michael Ende because of The Neverending Story. And this is another book by him, Momo, which is about a little girl, and she has a special gift, and she lives at the edge of the city. And then these people in grey come to the city, and to save everyone, she has to travel past time or something like that. And I think I once saw a play based on this book when I was a child, so I would like to read this one and see if that triggers my memory. The next one in this category is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, which is also a very popular book. It is about Addie LaRue, and I think that she sells her soul to the devil or something like that, or she makes a pact with a devil-like person, and this pact makes her live longer than she is supposed to live, but it also makes her sort of invisible to people. And I know a lot of people loved reading this one, so it's pretty high up my list. Then we have The First 15 Lives of Harry August by Claire North. And this one is about someone, I suppose Harry August, who keeps living his life over and over again, but each time when he is born, he remembers his life. So I always like that concept, the same thing repeating, you know, like a Groundhog Day, but then a whole life, I suppose, in this one. It could be fun to figure out what needs to change in his life or what he wants to change in his life. The next one is The Watchmaker of Filigree Street by Natasha Pulley. And this one is about someone who finds a watch on their pillow, and then that watch saves their life a couple of months later. And I know it takes place in Victorian London and in Japan. And that is all I know about this one. And the last one in this category is The Ministry of Time by Kalyani Bradley. This is also quite a popular book that came out this year, I think. And it is about a woman who is responsible for someone who comes from the past. He's sort of an expat, so to speak, but then in time travel instead of regular travel. I'll see if I'll get to this one. Then from science fiction we move to fantasy, and I have two duologies to talk about. The first one is All of Us Villains and All of Our Demise, which is written by Amanda Foody and C.L. Herman. And these are about 7 families that have a tournament when the blood moon happens. And that is all I know, and that is all I need to know to be interested in these. The other duology consists of Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. And this duology came recommended by Katie is Reading. And I know these are about a mythic city and gods and ghosts, and once again, I don't really need to know more. And then finally we have some more fantasy, but standalone books. First off, we have The Crimson Moth by Kristen Ciccarelli. This one is about a witch and a witch hunter and their relationship. I believe this one has a different title in the US, which I cannot remember right away. But I think it was something like The Witch Hunter, maybe. And I bought this one a little while ago, but by now I have heard some reviews which aren't as positive as I might have hoped, so I'm not sure that I'll be reading this one. I think the light... Does that help? We're almost at the end anyway. Next I have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed, which is about a girl who is a fan of this writer or of this author, and then there is a contest to design the house of this author, I think. And she enters and she is enthusiastic, but then it turns out to be, I don't know, fake or not everything that it is supposed to be. But I only ever hear positive things about this one, so it's very high up my list. Then there's A Tempest of Tea by Hafsa Faisal, which is about a tea room that covers as a front for illegal activities. I thought the cover was really pretty. I haven't heard anything more about this book, so I don't know if it is considered any good or not, but maybe we'll see. And then we have finally arrived at the last book, which is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I have heard that this is quite a strange book, that it is difficult to describe what it is actually about, which makes me quite curious to know what it is actually about. But there you go, that was my long list of options for November, and I hope you will see me read any of them. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!